Hello and thank you for coming to the Penguin and Fox channel. I'm Penguin.
I'm Fox.
And today we're going to be reviewing some indie games off of the Steam Greenlight.
In this video series, we are going to be taking you through the good, the bad, and the ugly games that have been greenlit by Steam this week.
And here we go. We're about to get started. Are you ready, Fox?
I'm ready, Penguin.
Thank gosh. Okay, so the first game is called Super Duper Party Pooper, and it's a good game. We actually really like this game. It's a rhythm game. It's got lots of good music. It's pretty fun. It's got a potty sense humor. Like, it's kind of just like poop haha, but you know, it has its moments, and it sticks true to the description of a rhythm game.
Definitely, it reminds me a lot of Beat Hazard, another game where you just you pick songs and you can dance to them. And you click buttons to associate those movements, and you play along with it. And I like the game. I think the game wasn't taking itself too seriously. I think with the potty humor, and I think it was a good balance between a challenge and entertainment.
Yeah, definitely. I think what they did really right, I think, in this game is that they made everything intuitive. The controls were intuitive, and then the pacing was excellent. The way they added new challenges and difficulties, like the milkshake or the food or the clouds that you had to click at the right time, they just added everything perfectly so you knew what you were going into and you knew what to expect from the game.
Yeah, I think it took us probably 2 tries on every time they added something new, so I think it was a perfect amount of, oh, this is something new, it's a new challenge, and also it was intuitive enough just to pick up and then start, playing it and, getting used to it.
Definitely, and as we said before, the music was spectacular. A lot of great songs. Some of them sounded similar, but they all had their own unique feel. There were only 8 of them. There's only 8 levels in the game. Not too long of a game, but it was great. Each level was actually excellent, and yeah, it just had that right aspect of challenging. Were there any cons for you?
There were a couple cons. I think replayability was fairly low just because it was the same songs, and for the most part it was the same sort of challenges that would be brought along. Like the bombs were kind of in the same spot, the places that you would normally mess up were in the same spots in the song, so you could really easily start to predict what was going to be where, and then the challenge started to dissipate after that point.
Yeah, the only thing I'd have to say to add on to that is that they did add a feature where you can input your own music, but it didn't seem to work too well, and it was kind of confusing, but I guess it does have a little bit of replayability, but not as much as you'd want in a game that is more expensive than this one. Another thing is it did have potty humor. It did get distracting at times, felt like a kid game, but again, that's fun to feel like a kid again, you know?
Yeah, there's nothing wrong at laughing at immature things and just going back. For such a simple game, it wasn't really asking a lot, and we're not really asking a lot of it, so having some lowbrow jokes is perfectly fine.
Yeah, now what do you take away from this game?
My takeaways is that it's a really simple game. It's you can pretty much pick it up and play it anywhere. Pretty short play time, so if you're looking for a really casual game with simple humor, this is your game. It takes 30 minutes, maybe a little bit longer. You beat the whole game. So it's a small journey, and I enjoyed it, but I wish there was more substance there. I wish there was more levels.
Definitely.
I wish when you're putting in your own music, I wish that was a little bit more intuitive. They might want to refine that. Hopefully this game is still being updated, and I'd love to see that if they are still updating.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think you hit a lot of great points there, and I think that this game definitely can be a lot more, and it is what it is. You know what I mean? It's a small game. There's only 8 levels, and it does those levels really well. So it's very small, but it doesn't cost a lot of money. I think this game is on sale right now for 66 cents. So I definitely can see myself picking it up for that price. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's totally fair for the price. That is extremely cheap for the quality of the game.
I definitely hope this developer comes out with a sequel or maybe a DLC for this game, because this was actually a lot of fun.
All right, Penguin, are you ready for this?
I am so ready, Fox.
All right, it's our bad game. It's called Aiball.
I'm not as ready anymore.
It's a physics game. It has 2 game modes in it right now.
It was soccer and King of the Hill, right?
Yes, sir. And all the characters look like Play-Doh.
That was hilarious.
And that's pretty much the entire game. There's no AI in it right now. There's no multiplayer. It's pre-alpha, it's about as simple as you can get.
Wait. You're telling me there's a game called Aiball with zero AI?
Maybe they didn't mean that AI, but...
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, no.
This was a very silly game. 2 game modes, King of the Hill and Soccer. Very short. I mean, but it is a physics-based game. So there's a lot of directions you can take this game. And that's what we kind of hope for the future of this. I mean... Honestly, there's not a lot now, but there could be in the future because it is a fun game to play. You can run into the stands, you can do these silly things and just fall over, and it's really funny. But that's about it.
Yeah, there's a lot of antics you can get into. It reminds me a lot of Tabletop Simulator, where you can you get a bunch of friends, you can just flip the table whenever, pretty much no rules. The same here, you can flip the goalposts, you can knock people over. You can pretty much just stand on people so they can't get back up. It's so it's all silly. It's very little rules, which is that's what games are for. As people who take them really seriously, that starts kind of ruining the games.
Definitely, yeah. And there was a lot of good things, but there were some bad things too. I mean, I did think the music was a little bit odd. I mean, there was one song I think, and it just droned on, and it was super repetitive.
Yeah, it was just stuck on repeat.
Yeah, it was pretty much annoying. But what can you do about that? It's a physics game, so let's just take it as it is right now. I do think there's a lot of things they can do in the future. Co-op, online multiplayer.
And the second they get those two going, they can add just any amount of new games to do. They could, pretty much every physical sport you can imagine, plus their own kind of special sports. I'd love to see, maybe some Play-Doh dragons or something you could ride, or just, something silly. I think that would really match the game really well.
That would definitely be great, and I'd love to see this game make it to the market and the Steam Workshop. So they could, the community could add their own games, just like Tabletop Simulator, and they could really just expand this game a lot.
Definitely. So what do you think in the future? This game is out of alpha, it's out of beta, it's been released.
Okay.
How much would you pay for it? What would you expect in the game if you were to pay for it?
So, I mean, I do really like this game, and I think that if it were complete and there were a couple more game modes, maybe online multiplayer, a Steam Workshop, I would easily see myself paying $5 to $10 for this game. But as it stands, if there was just a couple of game modes, no online, no Steam Workshop, I'd say it's about where it lands right now, $1.25, $1.29, around there.
Yeah, which is, it's neither worth our time nor the developer's time to sell for that much, but we expect a lot more from this game. I'd love to see more game modes, etc., etc. I think $5 to $10 is reasonable, depending on how many game modes they add, how many multiplayer you can have, etc., etc. There's a bunch of different things. How good the support is, in the workshop, how willing the developers are willing to work with the community, and I'd love to see this game become something more than it is now.
Definitely. And last but not least, we have the platformer Vridnix. It's a Super Meat Boy VVV type game that was kind of interesting. Although we only played a demo, I think we got enough to really kind of make a judgment about this game. I hope they do a lot more in the future because this is our ugly game, so it's obviously not the best game we have here. But I hope it has some promise, so we could potentially talk about it in the future another time.
I definitely agree. We did pick it for our ugly game, but that doesn't mean it's completely bad. We did need to put a game in this category, but I think it has some potential. But it's also, out of all the games we played, it had the most amount of problems. My takeaway from the game is it's a good game. It's a good platformer, but the controls didn't really mesh well with the level design. There was crude humor in it, which I didn't mind it. You want to change the settings, you have to sit on the John, which is it was entertaining to say the least.
Yeah, it was definitely entertaining for sure. But I don't know how that really meshes well with the storyline because he's supposed to be like this lethargic type character, and I didn't really understand that. It was interesting. I did, however, really enjoy the art style. I thought this game was beautifully drawn. It was not beautifully drawn, but it was good for this type of game. It was. And everything like that was fine, but the controls really took me out of the game. I just felt unwilling to keep going because every move I thought I made, and every time I thought I made a good play, was just me making a random movement with the controls.
Yeah, definitely. I also, back to the art style actually real quick, I just want to make a quick point, was I think the art style really matched the crude humor. Because it felt dirty and the humor was also dirty, but I agree, it didn't work terribly well with the storyline. I can see that comparison.
Yeah, on that, the storyline was so long. That was nuts. There was so much story in that game. It was about 90% story, 10% gameplay, which I don't think is the ratio that he wanted with just a basic platformer. I mean, that's not the way most platformers are set up. Super Meat Boy wasn't that way. I mean, it did have a story, but it wasn't half, like 90% of the time. Super Mario Bros. I mean, and Mario in general isn't that way. It's just you get into the level, you go. I mean, in the first one, there just wasn't even a storyline. You know what I mean? It was just all gameplay. And this one just felt distracting, the storyline.
Yeah, it kind of interrupted the story or the game flow, because between each level you'd have a huge dialogue box, and then each time you'd have to press space for every single time you wanted to move on. And I think it was just a little clumsily put in. They could definitely make it work. Don't get me wrong, but I think the way, I mean, we just played the demo, so we didn't play the full game or what they were going for. But I think they should definitely make some changes before they go out for a full release.
Yeah, definitely. Now, what did you think of the music? Because when I listened to the music, it also kind of took me out of the game. I felt distracted by it. It felt repetitive and just annoying.
The music was all right. I think in the earlier levels they kind of kept it a little upbeat. You could kind of play through the level kind of at the same tempo of the music. It was kind of up. It felt good. Made you put a smile on your face.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think maybe in the last 3 or 4 levels they kind of changed the mood. Probably to match the storyline. They made it a little bit sadder. But I just with a platformer, I don't think that really helps.
I definitely think it fit the art style though. For sure, that 80s type of Hotline Miami type art style, that I think it definitely nailed that. Now, what do you think for the future of this game?
For the future, I would love to see a higher ratio of levels to storyline. I think that'd be great. Also, maybe a way to skip the story, just a quick press escape to skip this whole storyline, because even if you're trying to skip through it, you have to press space like good 30 times, every 2 levels, which is not great on your space bar.
Definitely not great on the space bar, yeah.
So, I would love to see that in the future. Right now, it is on our ugly list until they do fix some of its problems. I would also love the controls are very not refined to the levels, because when you press space and you jump and there's any ceiling above you, your character instantly starts grabs onto it, which is really annoying if you're not trying to do that. Also, your character, whenever you hit a wall, you bounce back the other way without telling your character. So if you hit it, if you're going to the right, and then you hit off the wall and you try to jump right, you might jump the other way, which is, there's a difference between challenging and just being difficult.
And this game was definitely difficult.
It wasn't a challenge. It was just you had to be repetitive to getting the timings right. I didn't quite enjoy that aspect of the game.
Yeah, but hey, I mean, they can definitely improve the controls, tighten them up a little bit, tighten up the jumping, tighten up the moving around. So I think that's definitely something they can definitely improve on. So this game is not out yet, but what would you value it at based on what you've seen? If they made a full game out of it, a full Super Meat Boy type length game out of this exact thing, and fix some of these issues, just a couple of them, what would you pay for this game?
I would say from $10 to $15. I think that'd be fair. That's assuming you get about 3 hours of gameplay, which I think again is fair. With their current setup, they could probably pump out quite a few levels. They're pretty simple.
Yeah, totally. No, I completely understand. I would put it in that same sort of area, maybe $8 to $12. I'd put it in, just because it is a big game, but I do think some of these problems are just innate in this game and will not be fixed. I mean, it didn't bring anything new to the table. I mean, Super Meat Boy brought a lot of new stuff to the table when designing its levels and designing the game in general, and I think this just looks like a clone instead of bringing something new.
Agreed. I think Meat Boy did the platformer and then teleport out design really well. This game's kind of up that same tree, and I think Meat Boy did it better, but they might be able to do a better job with their type of story, or their other kind of unique hook that gets the players in. Hello guys, this is Fox.
And I'm Penguin.
Thanks for watching our first ever video.
Number 1!
And any feedback would be great on this video.
Drop it in the comments.
Just let us know if you want us to be more, a little bit meaner on the games we review, or nicer, or we analyze them differently, or just any comments at all would be really helpful. And subscribe, and if you don't want to do that, just sleep upside down like a bat tonight.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.